Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 105 now. Unfortunately, we cannot bring a band video to you today, but I won't go into that. Well, it's coming up to Anzac Day, and so I thought we might talk about Anzac Day now that Easter is over. It is very important to respect the diggers on Anzac Day. And here's Alec now to open episode 105 with that.
Thanks, Barry. Thanks for having me on the show.
And
Want me to open that up?
welcome back. It is very important to respect the diggers on Anzac Day. So here's Alec to open episode 105 with this.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. Thanks for having me on the show. Yeah, absolutely. Very important to respect the diggers of the Anzacs, but also all of the people who have served the armed forces for Australia and New Zealand.
So the first war ended in 1918. That was the First World War. Another rule we'd like to touch on the show today: never wear hats in the RSL on that day. Here's Alec.
Yeah, so I'm not super familiar with that rule, but this is, I guess, out of respect for the service people who serve. You don't wear a hat in the RSL. Is that on Anzac Day or is that on Remembrance Day or both?
Both.
Yeah, okay.
So we've only got a short show today because of the situation with my mate here, but we won't go into that. But we promise you to bring a bigger show next time around. So very quickly, I went to the Easter show today and it was great, but it was like a frying pan out in that sun. Here's Alec.
Wow, mate. So you went to the Easter show today, but it was hot weather, was it? It was hot and sunny.
Yeah.
Out there. What did you see out there at the show?
A big pig.
Wow, that's cool. What was it like, the big pig? Did you see other things as well?
Sheep.
Yeah.
And all that. So
Nice.
So unfortunately we can't bring a long show today because I've just got in and had a big day today and it's now time for me to wind up the day. Have a cup of coffee. Okay, so before we do go, coming up next time on the show, we look back at the history of this program. This program has been going for quite some time now. Here's Alec.
Wow, thanks, Barry. Yeah, I can't wait to hear all about it. And you've been going for many, many years, haven't you, with this show? You've done lots of things and talked about lots of interesting things, and it's been a real blast, mate. So can't wait for the next show.
So, before we close the next show, before we close the short show today, I would just like to thank you, the viewer, for watching. Here's Alec.
Mate, that's really a lovely sentiment. Always nice sentiment to thank the viewers for watching your show, and a really lovely way to finish off the Today Show.
So normally we will go on, but not today. Okay, so my closing message is always, please do not be an idiot with Triple O. Here's Alec to close the show with that.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Always a great message. Only use 000 in an emergency, not for any other reason.
Don't tell them that you want your pizza delivered or things like that, or if you want coffee, because they will not deliver coffee in the middle of the day or night. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's right. So they are really there only for a single purpose, and that's to help people in an emergency. So don't call them for any other reason, just.
And if you want a cup of coffee, make it at home or go to a coffee shop. And don't tell the operators something that has happened when it hasn't. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's right, mate. We don't want to waste their time, do we? Because if they're distracted by doing things that aren't helping people in an emergency, then there might be some people who really need help that can't get it.
And like me, because I can't drive to the hospital. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's right. It can happen to anyone, can't it? So all sorts of people could need emergency help, and so it's very important that we don't distract 000 with anything other than genuine emergencies.
So if anyone is caught misusing 000, there will be serious consequences with that. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not something that's accepted or is okay, and people do get into trouble for misusing that number. So just make sure you only use it on.
And for a good reason too. So guys, please do not bugger around with that number, because it's not a number for chit chatting. Here's Alec.
No, absolutely, mate. Not a number for chit chat. Only for emergencies.
And always tell the operator what your situation is and the address and the nearest cross street. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's right. So know where you are. If you are in an emergency, make sure you know where you are, and then you can tell the operators all the information they need to get an ambulance or whatever emergency service out that you need.
So we will continue episode 105 in 2 weeks. So we are very sorry, viewers, for having to cut this program short. Okay, 'cause we can't do much this day. So until Alec and I see you again for the continuation of episode 105, you take care and we'll see you next time. Here's Alec now for his farewell.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on the show.
And it's my birthday on Saturday.
Well, happy birthday, mate. That'll be a nice one, a nice another birthday to celebrate.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we're off air and on now. Here we are now on the continuation of episode 105. Good afternoon, Barry here with you. And Alec, well, today we're going to be talking about Anzac Day and how important it is to remember those who fought in the war and never came home. Now, the First World War ended in 1918. Now, we weren't even thought of back then. So, at the Anzac Day service, please pay your respects. Here's Alec now to open the second part of episode 105 with that.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. Thanks for having me on the show. And yeah, Anzac Day is a really important day, isn't it? It's a day when we thank all of the people who have served their country and worked in the armed forces. And we've had, lots of people over many, many decades have helped Australia in the armed forces. And so now is a great time to thank them for their service.
And remember, face the west at 6 o'clock if you're at the RSL. Here's Alex.
So that's the tradition in the afternoon, right? In the evening?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, at the RSL. And I think RSLs have quite a lot of events on throughout the day. I think the RSLs host 2-up competitions, and they have services, and yeah, they generally pay their respects throughout the whole day to people who have served.
And remember, guys, but with your head not over it. Be careful of gambling. Here's Alex.
Yeah, that's really good advice, mate, because gambling is a pretty insidious thing, isn't it? It can have some really negative impacts on people and households and families, and it's something really to be avoided if you can. Once a day is not the end of the world. A little bit of 2-up is not terrible, really.
But be careful, guys.
Yeah, be careful.
Because you need money to get a cab home. And remember, don't drink and drive, okay? Here's Alex.
Oh, that's a really good one, mate. Yeah, so you definitely, if you're going to have a few drinks on Anzac Day, you definitely don't want to drive. You want to have a way of getting home safely, either public transport or a taxi or even an Uber, something like that.
And make sure that you tell the driver you need some change. If you've got big notes here, here's Alex.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I think increasingly taxis are not even taking cash, are they? So it's increasingly everybody seems to be using their cards so that they don't need to get cash. If you do only have cash, can be tricky for the taxi driver.
And if you are out with a group of people, please be respectful and thoughtful, and think about the words you're going to use and how you're going to get the message across. Here's Alex.
That's really good advice, mate. So you're suggesting that people, if you're going to be out in public and talking about Anzac Day, that you have a think about what you say, and you prepare some thoughts so that you know that what you say is respectful and appropriate and helpful.
So don't just fly off the handle and be stupid. Here's Alex.
Yeah, good to think about what you're going to say on Anzac Day. And I know it's very personal to a lot of people. A lot of people have personal stories, either for themselves or their relatives. And so it is kind of an emotional day and a bit of a sensitive day. So it's good to be respectful and considerate of other people on Anzac Day.
So don't just think about yourselves, guys. Think about others. Think about how they're feeling, because they might want to remember the ones that they lost. Here's Alex.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So being considerate of other people and their feelings is a really good and important thing for Anzac Day. It is a time when some people will be feeling a bit sad, And so just maybe being considerate and sensitive and thinking about other people's needs is a good idea on Anzac Day.
And if you're going to the dawn service, guys, which is around about 4:30 in the morning or 5, make sure that you have everything prepared. Like if you're going down to a club for maybe Anzac Day lunch, make sure you've got transport to and from your house. Here's Alec.
Yeah, absolutely. Transport's very important on Anzac Day, isn't it? Particularly if you might have a few drinks with lunch. It's important to make sure you've got a good way of travelling all sorted out before the day.
So it's no good like organising it on the day. Make sure you give the drivers plenty of notice so that they can work around their jobs. I'm talking about the cab drivers. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's right. And particularly when we're talking about accessible cabs, right? So accessible cabs are in short supply and they're in high demand. So making sure that you book them nice and early and get them to figure out how they're going to move people around. It's a really good idea for Anzac Day.
So if you want the cab, say for like 5 o'clock in the morning, give the cab company a call the night before or 2 days before you're due to go. And if you have someone in a wheelchair, guys, we have said this before on many of the shows. Make sure you have accessible transport for those like him or her to get to and from the match. Here's Alec.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Accessible transport's super important. And really, there should be a lot more of it, shouldn't there? There's not enough of it in Sydney, and it's important to get it all organised, particularly for Anzac Day.
And look at the weather forecast as well before you go. And I have wet weather gear too. Here's Alec.
Yes, now that is a great suggestion, mate, because you don't want to get caught out in the rain early in the morning. It could be quite cold and miserable, so make sure that you know what the weather's going to be and either take a brolly or a raincoat if you think there's a chance of might rain.
So our next subject today on the continuation of episode 105 is staying healthy and well. Our next subject today is about staying well and healthy throughout, not only just Anzac Day, but winter as well. Please, we have also said this on the show. If you are sick, cancel your plans. Here's Alec.
Yeah, mate, that's good advice because you don't want to make other people sick, do you? So if you're unwell, stay home, look after yourself, drink lots of water and eat well, and don't.
And if you've got COVID, okay, if you feel you've got COVID symptoms, okay, please, we urge you to take a test just to make sure you haven't got COVID. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. And in fact, these days you can take tests that test for a few things, can't you? So you can actually, there's a little three-way test that tests for the flu, for COVID, and for rhinovirus. And so you could even test for all three things to see if any of those things are what's making you sick. And it's sort of helpful to know, but on the other hand, if you're sick, right? Sort of doesn't really matter what it is. If it's the flu or the COVID or a cold, you still have to look after yourself, don't you? Doesn't change a huge amount.
And cancel any plans that you have made, guys, so that you don't make people in the community sick. Here's Alex.
Yeah, that's right, mate. You want to make sure that no one else catches your cold. You don't spread it around. So it is good to stay home, but only while you're infectious, right? So as soon as you start testing negative, you're good to go. Even if you've still got some symptoms, if your body has killed the virus, and you're no longer sick, then you're actually okay to go.
But remember, guys, carry a face mask with you, not just one, just a couple, because if you breathe on somebody or sneeze or cough, they are most likely to get it. Here's Alec.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. That is a really good way of containing the virus and making sure that you don't infect anyone else. So if you do go out into the public while you're sick, you can wear a mask, and it will make sure that your germs don't spread to other people.
And again, be considerate of others when you are sick, okay? Especially on public transport. Here's Alec.
Yes, that's a very good suggestion, mate. So public transport is one of those things, isn't it, where there's a lot of people crammed into a small area. So there's a high risk of transmission of diseases in a place like that. So very good to be thinking about your impact on others on public
So
transport.
please don't be inconsiderate, okay? Because you may infect the bus driver and other passengers. So if you are not well enough to travel, please don't go. Here's Alec.
Yep, that's a good suggestion. So if you're unwell and you're really too unwell to travel, just stay home, change your plans, look after yourself, and get better.
And the only way you are going to get better, guys, is by drinking well, eating well, and drinking lots of fluids, and making sure that you are nice and warm. Okay? Here's Alec.
Absolutely, mate. So really good advice is to look after yourself, drink lots of water. Your body needs water when it's recovering from an illness. Eat healthy foods with vegetables, and then keep warm. Yeah, make sure that you
make sure that you have a bucket beside your bed as well. Okay, because you do not want to be sick. Have one handy just in case. Here's Alec.
Yeah, hopefully people won't be feeling sick in that way. So usually when you've got a cold or COVID or the flu, usually you're not going to kind of throw up or need a bucket. So hopefully you won't be in that situation. That's more if you've got something like food poisoning, isn't it? Food poisoning is more likely to make you feel like throwing up. Then you might need a bucket beside the bed. Hopefully, if people have a cold or something like that, they won't need that.
But it is better to be safe than sorry, because if you've got food poisoning, okay, and things like that, it's better to have it. We'd rather you have the bucket than not. Okay, so if you are very sick, arrange a telehealth appointment with your doctor or get someone to drive you down to the medical center. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's right, mate. So if you are feeling really sick, so most people, if they've got a cold, they can manage the symptoms themselves and get better. But if you're really sick and very very unwell, then it is a good idea to get a doctor's opinion. And yeah, you can do that either by a telehealth appointment or by getting yourself off to see a doctor.
And tell the doctors the absolute truth because they will not put up with lies. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's right. They do their job best when they've got all the true information about you. Always best to tell doctors the truth about what's happening, and then they can help you the most.
And stick to your relevant topic. Tell them what is really wrong. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess it could be a trick in maybe getting off topic and talking about other things. But when you're with a doctor, I mean, they're very busy people, right? They're usually seeing lots and lots of people, lots of patients. So good idea to stick to the point and just talk about the thing that you're there to see them about.
And if the doctor gives you a script for medicine or tablets or antibiotics, make sure you finish your course. Don't just finish halfway through and kid yourself that you're better and you'll finish your antibiotics or whatever the doctor has prescribed for you because finishing, excuse me, just for so like I was saying, don't just finish half the dose, the whole thing. Don't waste the tablets. Here's Alec.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So very very important that when you've been prescribed some medicine, that you take it all over the whole time period. Otherwise, it may not work. You do need to finish the whole script and give it the best possible chance of making you better.
And if the doctor wants you to take the medicine again or the tablets, please do take them because that's what the scripts are for. And then if you're not sure, guys, ask your doctor how many times you need to take the medication. Here's Alec.
Yeah, always a good idea to clarify with the doctor what you need to do or what you need to take. And sometimes it's helpful to have someone else in those kinds of conversations. Particularly if you're not feeling well, can be helpful to have someone else in the conversation to help you to understand what kind of medicine you need to take.
So medication is there to take, not to be wasted. And make sure that you have enough money to purchase the medication. Here's Alec.
Yep, absolutely. So most people have enough savings so that when something comes up, when they get sick, they do have enough money to cover medicine. And so usually people can afford medicine, and it's the kind of thing where most people will make it happen. Medicine is something that's very important to make you better. So usually people will be able to find enough money to pay for their medicine.
Well, the last topic today on the show is going on the radio. Well, the last topic today on the show, okay, going on the radio. Now, we brought a subject about going on the radio before, or should I say, we brought up a subject on this before, okay? like what I just said earlier, if you are sick and can't do your session, don't force yourself. Okay? Make sure you're well enough to do your stint on the radio. Here's Alec.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to be in good health, well rested, and in a good mood too. So you want to be thinking happy, positive thoughts, and have lots of energy for your studio session.
And make sure, right with the Anzac Day March, okay, make sure that you have transport arranged to and from the station. Here's Alec.
Yeah, absolutely. So always good to organise transport and make sure that you can get to and from where you need to get to. And particularly with accessible transport, you quite often need to book that well in advance.
So please be responsible, okay? And work out what you're gonna talk about on the show and the music you're gonna play. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, mate. So plan ahead, have the music all prepared, and also, yeah, have a think about the topics of conversation that you're going to talk about, because particularly most radio stations actually like to have some really good and interesting chat, don't they? Really good, interesting talking. So good to think about that before you go.
And don't tell the time on the show because you might not know when they're gonna play your show next. Here's Alec.
That's a very good point, particularly when you're recording a show, isn't it? So when you're recording a show, you don't necessarily know when it's going to be played. So you definitely don't want to say a specific time because when it'll be played at a different time. So that's a very good idea, and one way of making sure that the show works for whenever it's played on the radio.
And introduce yourself as well. And say good morning to your listeners as well. And at the end of the show, say thanks for listening to RMB. I'm Barry Fair, and I look forward to your company next time. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's right. So, like all good radio presenters, you have an intro, and you thank people for listening at the end of the show. So you want to do all of the normal things that happen in a good radio show.
And make sure you've got introductory music, okay? Like I've got the Manfair intro, sort of like the theme to Sports World. You remember that?
Yeah.
So think about what songs you're gonna play and what year you're gonna be talking about as well. Like this week on Saturday, we're gonna be talking about 1978
Yep.
and write down a list of songs that you're gonna play on your program too, because it's important. If you're gonna play two songs back to back, like another client does, okay, sometimes if you've heard Wenton on the weekend, he may play songs back to back. Now back to back means you don't just back announce after the first song, you back announce after you play the songs. Here's Alec.
Yeah, that's right. And lots of people have different formats for their show, don't they? So some people will just play a song and then have some chat. Some will play two, some will play three. It's nice to have your own sort of format for your own show. So make it your own, make it personal and individual and different. It's really good for you to do a radio show that you want to do it. It's important to do it the way you want to do it so that you have the most fun.
And do it stiff like you are listening to Radio Northern Beaches, 88.7 and 90.3. Now a sting is what you do every 15 minutes, okay? So if you're ever going on the radio to Northern Beaches, you would say you are listening to, say, example like Travis Bickle. That's just an example, okay? So, okay, the thing is when you play a song or you come out of a song, you probably have heard me say that do this a couple of times when I've been on air. So this is very important. And I forgot to mention, guys, okay, the intro. How are you going to start your intro? How are you going to do the intro? Like, say, that was Pablo Cruz, Love Will Find a Way, and we've come to the end of the show at Radio Northern Beaches. Okay, this is how you do it. And very often, the show has interviews. Like you may want to interview someone, but make sure that you get permission from them first. Here's how.
Yeah, absolutely. So interviews are a great thing to do on the show, aren't they? It's usually quite an enjoyable and entertaining thing to interview someone and talk about a special interest topic for them. But of course, you need their permission, and usually most people are very, very happy to participate in an interview, particularly for something like a radio show.
And make sure you keep the questions brief and to the point. Here's Alec.
Yeah, good questions is really important, isn't it, for an interview? And the other trick with a good question is to make them open-ended. So you don't want to ask a yes/no question because then they'll just answer with yes or no. But what you actually want to do is to get them talking about something. So you want to ask a question like, can you think of a time when you did such and such? Or how did you feel about doing something or other? So ask those open-ended questions and they will help you to get really good answers from the person you're interviewing.
So be honest with your listeners as well, okay? That's very important. Here's Alec.
Yep, honesty is a good thing, and authenticity as well. So being yourself, just being true to yourself and not trying to be someone else and just having a good time. I think the most important thing is that you have fun, right? Like we do this for fun. So most important thing is that you have a good time.
And if you make a mistake on the show, guys, don't worry. Because as the saying goes, the show must go on. Here's Alec.
Oh, no, absolutely, mate. That is super important. Always just keep going. Everybody makes little mistakes and they do not matter, do they? So, in fact, they make it more real. So, listeners don't want to listen to perfection. They like hearing people who are normal and make mistakes like normal people, So, actually, little mistakes in the show, not a problem, actually a good thing, a very normal thing to have in your radio show. Keep going.
And if you're nervous before the show, hey, relax. Here's Alec.
Yeah, which is not a problem for you anymore, is it, baby? You're an old hand at doing radio shows. You don't get nervous anymore. But if you do get nervous, it's good to just kind of breathe deeply and slowly and be calm. And also talk to yourself about how, look, it's not the end of the world if you're not perfect. There isn't much to stress about. There's not a lot riding on it. And people won't judge you if you make a mistake. People don't mind. So
And before you even go on the show, guys, okay, perhaps it would be a good idea to sit down outside the studio and go over the things you want to talk about, because you might be on the radio for the first time and you may want to go over everything. Yeah, that.
yeah, absolutely. And it is a good idea if you're new to something to kind of think it all through and prepare and maybe practice. Um, and yeah, that's a good thing to do when you're starting out.
Well, as usual, we've come to the end of another show and the end of episode 105. We thank you today for joining us. The time is 4:45 here. You've been watching Alec and Barry, and the closing message as usual. I always bring this up at the end of each program, 000. Now don't be an idiot with that number, guys. 000 is only there for emergencies. Here's Alec now with his closing segment on this.
Yeah, always a great community service announcement. Only use 000 in an emergency, but do use it if you are in an emergency.
Yep, and coming up on episode 106 in 2 weeks from today, we'll be hopefully doing a van video again. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So we look forward to your company on the next episode, and thank you for tuning in with us today. And the time is now 4:43. I was a few minutes out. Sorry about that. So just before we do go today, remember the Anzac Day on Saturday. Pay your respects and things like that. So we hope that you have enjoyed the show today, and we will see you next time around on episode 106. So here is Alec now to say his goodbye.
Thanks for having me on the show as usual. It's always a great time, Barry. A pleasure and an honour.
And this program is proudly produced by Barry Fair and is narrated by Barry Fair. And as Tony Barbie used to say at the end of Sale of the Century, keep smiling and bye for now. You've been watching episode 105 coming to you from Narrowena. So Alec and I will see you in 2 weeks' time for another jam-packed episode. And hopefully we will have the new Toyota thing